We'll get back to Prime News on HLN. 3 women attacked at hotels in and around Boston, all in the last week. They were all tied up. One ended up shot to death, and this guy is still on the loose. Let's bring back our Prime News correspondent, Rochelle Carey, with more on this. Give us the details, Rochelle.
Mike, folks in Boston are calling him the Craigslist killer. All 3 women had posted ads on that site. 2 offered massage services. One was a dancer, and cops say some of these women could have been involved in prostitution. Let me lay out the timeline for you. Last Friday, a 29-year-old woman was tied up and robbed inside the Westin Hotel in downtown Boston. Then on Tuesday, 26-year-old Jaleesa Brisbane was tied up and shot to death inside a downtown Marriott. The last attack happened just last night inside a hotel in Warwick, Rhode Island. Cops say a man tied up a woman with a plastic cord and tried to rob her at gunpoint, but was stopped when the woman's husband came into the room. So take a good look at this guy. This is from surveillance video at the Westin and the Marriott, that is, hotels just after the attacks. He's clean cut. He's a young white man, blonde hair, and a black windbreaker. Police are warning women, if you post ads on Craigslist, you might be in danger.
The female population here that makes a decision to engage themselves in these kinds of commercial transactions, okay, because they appear to be legal in the state of Rhode Island, we clearly have a situation where they're putting themselves at risk.
Cops are not ruling out the fact that this guy could be connected to similar attacks in the area, Mike. So they're just trying to connect the dots and see what they have on their hands.
Frightening. Again, the guy's still on the loose.
Yeah.
Rochelle, thanks for that. Joining us to talk about it, Mike Brooks, Prime News law enforcement analyst, also with us. Orion Johnson, reporter for the Boston Herald. Orion broke this story, and also with us, Pat Brown, our criminal profiler on this case. All right, Orion, let's start with you. First off, are police certain this is the same guy in all the attacks?
In the case of the Westin and the Marriott, yes. I think they have, with any degree of certainty, they are certain. But as far as the Warwick, Rhode Island case goes, I don't know. They haven't come out and said that they're certain.
Okay.
They're kind of keeping that one at arm's length. I just found out they're not going to release the surveillance footage from that from the Holiday Inn attack down in Rhode Island either. So I don't know, what that means.
Gotcha. Hey, Orion, so the way we understand, so 3 attacks, 2 women come away pretty much without serious injuries. Is that right?
Right. Yes.
But yet one shot to death. Why?
That's a great question. That's a great question. I mean, there's all sorts of speculation out there. I'm sure the analysts you have in there could probably fill in better than I could. I mean, maybe he didn't want to leave a witness behind. There's all sorts of speculation. It's tragic.
Did she fight back?
From what I understand, the victim who was killed did fight back.
Okay.
There were some bruises on her lower back, and there were multiple gunshot wounds in her torso. Not necessarily all in a pattern or in a group.
Okay.
But there was some indication there that she did fight back, and the restraint was only on one hand.
Did she scream, try and get out of there? Did the guy panic?
That's a good question. I don't know. The
Okay.
witnesses that we talked to, some of my colleagues talked to, that were staying nearby, they heard a commotion. They didn't necessarily hear a scream.
Okay.
They were just kind of stunned to find a woman laying in the hallway bleeding.
Okay, let's bring in Pat Brown, criminal profiler. All right, Pat, what do we have here? This guy targeting women. We're talking private dances, massages, but yet we're not seeing him go for any sexual attacks here. He's tying them up and robbing them. In the one case, he shot the woman on Tuesday. What do you make of that?
Well, Mike, it is kind of unusual because you would expect to see a sexual assault as well. But sometimes when people commit these crimes, it's their fantasy of what they get an enjoyment out, what kind of power and control. Obviously, he's not there just for the money, because if you're there just for the money, all he has to do is pull the gun out, say, give me your money, and I'm going to get out of here. But he wants to go further than that. He wants to have more power over this woman by restraining her. He may have some kind of love of bondage and think that's very exciting. That there is no sexual component, we can't be sure of yet. And I think we may see that there might have been, and in the future, if he keeps doing this, there might well be.
Right. A good point there. If he keeps doing this, Mike, police have got to be working frantically. We're talking 3 attacks in 1 week.
Oh, absolutely, Mike. You know, Ed Davis, the superintendent of Boston Police, he says he's encouraging anybody else who possibly could be, another victim. Because, if there is money for sex being done here, and they're advertising on Craigslist for this, because it seems like he's targeting escorts and masseuses. Now, we know that escort services, they come out to your hotel. These two hotels, the Westin and the Marriott, very close together in downtown Boston. So, there could be other victims out there who don't want to come forward because they could have been involved in illegal activity. But I'm encouraging anybody that may recognize this guy, even if you were involved in some kind of illegal activity, please come forward because you could save someone's life.
Ryan, do police believe that there are other victims out there?
I don't know if they believe there's other victims out there. I think what he said is dead on, though. It's entirely possible that there are other victims out there. I mean, given that what the women are doing, at least here in Boston, is illegal, they may not feel comfortable coming forward.
Yeah. Mike mentioned Craigslist. Let's read their statement on this. They are helping out in the investigation. Here's their statement. There appears to be a psychopath on the loose in the Boston area, and we will, of course, do everything in our power to assist law enforcement. We are evaluating this incident to see if there are any additional things we could do to better protect, that is, Craigslist users. So that's their statement. Let's go to the phones. Joining us, Tammy from North Dakota. Hi, Tammy. Thanks for the call.
Hi.
Your comment or question, Tammy?
I feel that with all this new modern technology we have going on, and you have one really good, clear picture of this man.
Yeah.
They should be able to do something about this, and if they can't, he's got to be doing something with his free time other than hunting down women when he's not killing them.
Two great points there, Tammy. Thanks for the call. First, you, Mike. She's right. That surveillance video has got to be huge. Help for investigators here. Pretty
Absolutely.
clear shot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to be very anxious to see if the surveillance video from the Holiday Inn in Warwick, Rhode Island matches the same description. I know for a fact that the Warwick Police Department is working with Boston to see if there is any link in this. And, and we talk about, as Tammy talked about, technology, also on the computers. And that's why Craigslist, they're cooperating with the Boston PD. You can get subpoenas, go back into the files of Craigslist and possibly come up with some suspects.
Yeah. Pat, our caller makes a point. Obviously, he's doing something else with free time, and we got a good look at him. But what about another attack? What's the likelihood he's going to attack again? 3 in 1 week, Pat.
Well, he seems to be on a roll, and there is a good likelihood, although the problem is we don't know if he's going to change the locations or slightly change M.O. There's a lot of ways to get women, and Craigslist, of course, is one of the newest ways. If you look back in the past, men used to put out those want ads and have women answer want ads for things like just selling an object, and the woman would come to their house and get killed. And if a woman doesn't leave an address as to where she's going, that guy will never be identified. And what's the problem with Craigslist now is the women who are not going to the guy's hotel, like the escort services, when they send women to the men's hotel, they have an ID when they come in and check in, so you don't get a lot of killings there. But the guy who goes to the woman through Craigslist, she's putting herself in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, let's go back to Orion Johnson again, reporter for the Boston Herald. Broke this story. Orion, again, we appreciate your help on this. Tell us about the ads. What were the ads on Craigslist? Be specific here. Was it dancing, massages, what?
Sure. Well, from what I understand, the first set of ads for the first victim at the Westin were full-service sexual encounters, which would kind of include everything.
Yeah.
The ads for the second victim were being told by Boston police that they're just for massages only. The third ads, I believe, was for exotic dancing, like in-room exotic dancing. And from what I understand, to touch on a point one of your experts made, is that they're not going to release any of the surveillance video from the Holiday Inn. I just, right before I came on, I talked to Boston police and said they're not going to release any of that footage.
Yeah.
But the ads, I mean, the ads are all kind of what you would consider garden variety Craigslist prostitution ads.
Yeah, you just nailed it right there. Yes, Craigslist is helping. But, Mike, let's remind our viewers, we know Cook County Sheriff, Chicago area, Tom Dart, has dubbed it, let me read it here, Craigslist is the largest source of prostitution in the United States. Don't we have to clean things up, Mike?
Absolutely. I mean, it's amazing, Mike. When you go on a Craigslist, it can be women for men for men, and it's just so explicit. I mean, you go on there when I was doing some investigation for this story and also for some other stories we've had dealing with Craigslist. It's amazing what's on there. Now and then you look at it and you'll see some of them had been pulled, but it sounds like a lot more have to be pulled.
Yeah, exactly that. All right, guys, we're going to have to leave it there. Again, Mike, we appreciate it. Pat, always good to have you on the show. And again, our thanks to Orion Johnson from the Boston Herald who broke this story. Orion, nice work. Thanks again, guys.